Good afternoon, it's Mel Bundock here on this glorious Sunday afternoon in the UK. Hope you're all well, having a fabulous bank holiday weekend. If you're here in the UK, I'm not sure it's bank holiday anywhere else. So I'm about to be joined by a friend, and here he is, James Wedmore. Yay, that was super quick. There was no technical difficulties there. So James is watching. Right, bring James on. This is working.
I'm here.
Yay! Perfect. That went without hitch. How good was that?
I love it. It's my favorite way to make things happen.
I just want to share something very quickly. This is very rare that this happens, but I've just checked on the weather on my iPhone. It's currently hotter in the UK than in Laguna Beach.
Oh my goodness. It's like good hot, right? Like go outside.
Good hot.
And...
Good hot.
Yeah.
We're so not used to it. I was watching my son's football match this morning. I'm a little bit sunburned.
This is amazing. I mean, that's amazing.
It is. It really is amazing. That's why I had to share that with you and to feel slightly smug momentarily.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to keep it short so you can go out and enjoy the day.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining me on your Sunday morning. I know you're super busy with your own pre-launch activities at the moment. So really appreciate this, James.
Of course.
So those of you who don't know who James is, well, you should go and look him up. Go and check out his Mind Your Business podcast. Now, that's how I first found out about James. Must have been nearly 2 years ago now, I think, where I'd not heard of James. And a friend of mine said, you must listen to this Mind Your Business podcast. It's amazing. Listen to it. I then bought James's Business by Design program. And there you go. You've been stuck with me ever since.
Stuck with you. I think it's the other way around.
Oh no, it's been an absolute pleasure. Now, before I've kind of titled the topic of this broadcast Money Mindset Talk with James Wedmore, because I know this is a topic quite, I don't know what we say. It's quite important to you, isn't it? And, it's something that we work on as entrepreneurs, as part of our personal development journey. And it's something I've certainly been working on for the best part of a decade. I think it all comes with this whole personal development journey, but you've kind of like brought added elements to my own work in the last couple of years. But just very quickly, before we go into that money mindset talk, I just wanted to share a really quick story. So I bought James's Business by Design program, which he's currently doing pre-launch activities for. So go follow him on Instagram stories and you'll see all the behind stuff. And so I bought the program and I'm thinking, oh yes, bought James's program, going to set to work on creating my online course. And then I think a couple of weeks into being in the program, James adds me as a friend on Facebook, and I think, oh, he's added me as a friend on Facebook. Then I get a message from him saying, Mel, are you looking for any more beta testers for your course? I think, is he serious? and yeah, so James was one of my very first beta testing students for Tapping into Abundance. So that's kind of how we got to know each other. I bought James's program, he buys mine. There we go.
Pretty awesome.
Very.
Yeah. And I've always been passionate about these topics because money, the conversation with money, it's no matter who you are, what your occupation is, whatever, it's so prevalent in our lives. Like it's this all-consuming thing, and there's such, like, for most people there's such a heavy emotional feel. Like a lot of people don't even like talking about money. Really, it's just little pieces of paper, and half the time now it's not even paper, right? So why is it this thing that we it's on our mind all the time? We can't talk about it, it's rude, it's impolite, it makes us feel heavy, depressed, emotional. And then you take all that and you say, I'm going to start a business. And the primary function of a business, whether you like it or not, is to make money. And that's how people measure the success of a business in the first place. Like, chances are you would never go and buy a business if it wasn't making any money and there was no plan for it to ever make money, and it had no hope that it could ever make money, right? That it's never going to make money. Like, you just wouldn't do that. So the success of a business is heavily contingent upon how much money it's making. And then we step into a business role, and a lot of times people just think, well, my job is just to like do the thing that provides the value, like make the cupcakes or blend the smoothies, or I don't know, I'm thinking food businesses today, but like make the shirts, you know? And it's like, no, your job is to run the business. And man, if you don't have the money stuff going right, you just put that right onto the business, because you're at the driver's seat, you've got the steering wheel, and you're going to start making decisions and actions based on your relationship with money, your beliefs about money, how you see money, etc. And that will steer the business. And that's a huge factor why people, you know, why most businesses fail. And there was a whole study done on this. Forbes reported 8 out of 10 businesses fail within the first 18 months. And then when they dove deeper and looked at what the case was, they just had no plan for making money. They weren't doing anything to make, I mean, it's like, it's so prevalent, but I always believe it starts with us. It starts with us, and it starts internally with us. And so, you know, that's why I love the work that you're doing, because most people are going out there to solve their money issues, right? Like, to the point where someone, not anybody obviously listening, but people are willing to go steal because they think taking is going to solve their money issues, you know, or maybe the lottery will fix it. Yeah. And it's all these things out there, and we're never even looking at ourselves. And until we do that, we're just going to continue, you know, operating that old way, and we're never going to really resolve any of those issues that we have around money that, frankly, we've all grown up with since we were little kids. I mean, for most of us, you know, we learned it from our parents. We learned it from our environment at a young age. And here's the other thing, like, you guys can't argue that, right? That like, you learned your relationship with money at a young age, you know, and you start to look at, well, what were my parents saying about money and all that stuff? And you're like, oh my goodness, I'm starting to say the same thing. And you can start to notice correlations. But here's the thing, like, we are in such a different time in the world that to even think of adopting your parents' money strategies to your life is such a dangerous thing to even consider. I talked to my dad. He's in his late 70s now. He's a pretty old guy, and he doesn't like when I say that. And he has told me, he goes, James, I've seen more change in the last 10 to 12 years than in my entire time being alive. And he just shared that with me. And you guys know that too. Yes, the internet, but look at then what the internet has provided, different ways in which people are connecting, engaging, sharing. Like, the media is different. Celebrities are different, you know, like, people are looking up to just the average Joe or Jane that has an Instagram account. I mean, like, so the landscape is so different. The possibilities for making money are completely different. The ways in which we can do it. I mean, my sister, who's got a 2-year-old nephew, he's sitting there glued to it so she can actually like have some time to herself, puts him in front of YouTube videos, and she goes, look at this kid. She points to this YouTube videos of this little kid who must be, I don't know, he's 7 or 8. She goes, he's worth $11 million. He's making $11 million a year making YouTube videos. I said, what are the videos that he's, and I'm not even surprised. I'm like, what are the videos he's making? It's him opening toys and playing with them. Yeah. Now, when you grew up, however old you are, even if you're like in your 20s, like when you grow up and you were 5, 6, 7, 8, did you ever even think or see anybody else that was a little kid making millions of dollars playing with toys? No, we saw the people that were
every kid's dream.
That would be, I mean, it's my dream. And, well, I'm still a kid. That's my dream. I mean, I'm sitting there, my brain's starting to go like, okay, how could I make better videos than this kid is doing using my nephew and we could make 20 million. I mean, and that's immediately where I'm going. And that's really the question is, are you guys doing that? Are you starting to see that opportunity is everywhere?
Totally.
Everywhere. So anyways, that's my spiel. You got to shut me up every once in a while, Melanie.
No, that's fine. So you're not going to be ditching business by design anytime soon and be building Lego on YouTube?
Well, I'm looking for the way in which I can do both. How about that?
Oh, yeah. And it is, no, and I think I'm like you, that whole thing around possibilities is just it's just amazing. And it's like I was at Disneyland last week after the Next Level event. I went to Disneyland, and there, when you look at the story of Walt Disney and how he viewed vision and possibility, I think so my new favorite quote now is a Walt Disney quote that is kind of fun to do the impossible. I love that.
It's totally fun to do. I mean, and look, that's a whole nother thing that I see with entrepreneurs that are like really just starting. They're still applying this employee mindset where they're not willing to do something that they don't know how it's going to turn out. They don't know all the answers. They don't think it's possible. Therefore, they don't do it. And we've immediately cut ourselves off to it.
Yeah.
And I mean, so, you know, I think, like, I'm here to answer any questions, Mel, or any other questions that your audience has. But like, if there's one thing that I could really share in my journey, because I struggled for a long time, like first 4 years of business, I was broke, and I worked harder and frankly was smarter than like everyone I knew. Like, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that to, like, a lot of us are telling ourselves stories that we're not smart enough, you know, or I don't have enough time. But look, I put in all the time in the world, and I was really like applied all my smarts, and I couldn't make $1. And that's when I had to take a really good hard look.
So what shifted for you, James? Because I remember you sharing this, that, you know, you'd been in business for 4.5 years, I think you said, before you started to make money. I think a lot of people would have given up before that. What shifted for you?
So over the years, there's been multiple shifts. At my lowest point, and I think this is the story you're referring to, I remember being so angry and frustrated that I put in 12 hours that day. I'm just like, I'm living at my parents' house. I don't have $1 to my name. So, but luckily it's nice that my parents could put a roof over my head, you know? And I remember punching my keyboard so hard that I broke the keys out of it. Like, the keys fell off of it. And that wasn't the first time I'd done that. And I went outside and I just like yelled up to like the stars. And there was this moment where I'm like, is anybody even listening? Like, you start squinting everything. It's like, well, the stars don't really care. The neighbors probably think, like, you know, something awful has just happened. They're going to call the cops. But I remember the first thing that shifted for me which just allowed me to keep going, was I told myself, well, at least this will make for a good story. At least I'll be able to share this one day with others. And look, here I am, I'm doing that. And what that allowed for was my brain, my attention, my thoughts got to shift to go, oh, this isn't permanent. Okay, this isn't permanent. But what it really did is started to shift my attention to what I wanted. And if there's one thing that I could share with your audience that's going to make all the difference, is that abundance, this thing that we call abundance, is all around us. And it's not out there. It's a internal choice. It's like here we go. It's like a pair of glasses. Oh, I'm looking good. You can put on in any moment, including this moment, and you can look at life through this lens and see that there is possibility, abundance, everything that you want all around us. But we rarely do that. Like, for example, if you see someone else that's making a ton of money, it's your choice. And you're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's your choice whether you go, oh, why do they have it and I don't? What's wrong with me? What's up? Or why did you never consider, okay, thank you. Thank you for giving me more proof and evidence that this is possible.
Yeah.
Now that's one more thing I can see as evidence to give me the confidence that this is possible for me too. That is a choice. And do you think you're going to get closer to what you want or further away when you keep beating yourself up just because someone else made it? And therein lies the real problem, is that our entire lives we have been taught the opposite of an abundance mindset. We have been taught that everything is lack, scarce, that there's a finite amount, that if someone else, like, oh, Melanie makes all this money, that means we start to say, oh, that must mean there's less for me. Mm. And look, I don't have the stats on hand, but go look them up. There are more millionaires and little kid millionaires, than ever before. You look at like the Bitcoin cryptocurrency phenomenon that happened last year, like people making millions and millions and millions of dollars. Like, did that get taken away from somebody else? Is there someone on the other side that said, I had millions and now it's gone? No, Bitcoin was a currency that got created.
I still don't get Bitcoin.
Yeah. It's just like changing your money into the US dollar. Yeah. Except that it's going up, not down, right? So money is being created and abundance is all around us. And even when we talk about abundance, we're not just talking about money. We're talking about, everything, like an abundance of relationships in your life. People, like, we all want and crave connection. An abundance of health. So what we're trained to do, and now that you get to spot it. We are trained to look at lack. We are living our life through a lack survival mindset. For most of us, that has become our default way. And then we think that it's out there, that abundance is this thing out there that we can then like somehow get if we win the lottery or rob a bank or inherit it, and then boom, we'll have it. And that's so backwards and not true, but you wouldn't know any other way. Abundance always starts in here and in here first. Yeah. And then it gets reflected out there. So even for example, like buying your program, okay? And I've had so many examples of this in my life, and you won't know it until you do it, because only experience and action will give you clarity and knowledge. You can know something conceptually, like you can read a book on how to swim, but do you really know how to swim until I've thrown you into the deep end and there you are like paddling, right? So you won't know this until you experience this. But even when you look at someone like Melanie offering a product with a price, when you are in this lack mindset, all you're doing is putting your awareness on the cost. It's going to cost me this, it's going to cost me this, and it's going to cost me this. And and this is what entrepreneurs need to be doing. We're never looking at the potential. We're never looking at the possibility. We're never looking at the results that become available to us. We're only looking at that cost. This is what it's going to cost. This is what it's going to cost. And right there in that moment is a demonstration of this lack survival way of being. Yeah. And that's why we stay stuck, because if you keep seeing that, you keep getting that. You keep seeing that, you keep getting that. It's this vicious circle. And so it actually takes to shift that perspective, for most people, a tremendous amount of courage. But when you can demonstrate that you're operating from an abundance place. Yeah,
totally. And there's been many scary times in my life where I've gone to make big purchases, investments in myself, and you sit there and your heart's beating with your credit card but it's funny, I always kind of tune in, and I always know that it's not a case of I can't afford to do this. It's just like I can't afford to not do this. And I was in a situation just before I purchased Business by Design. I was kind of in that. It's funny, I had a moment similar to yours where I'd literally kind of like, oh, come on, somebody, source, tell me, God, whoever, what do I need to do now? I was literally on the verge of getting on a train back into London to do the daily commute. And it's very weird. Not weird. Well, it's not weird, because this is what happened. Business by Design came along, changed everything. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for the plug.
Of course. But
well, can I give an analogy real quick?
Yeah.
This is where, and then Choco Johnny had asked about how your program and help. So with my relationship with money, I'll get to that in a second. But here's ultimately where I am with my relationship with money, because we all have one. Good, bad, empowering, disempowering.
Yes, that's the thing. When you kind of get to kind of, 7-figure business level, you kind of think, is your money mindset sorted out now? Are you kind of done?
Well, okay. Ask me that in a second.
Okay.
Because that's a very good question. I wish it were simple. Oh yeah, it's done. But it is and it isn't. Like, I'll answer that because that's a really good place to go. Hey Wendy, nice to see you. Hey Becky. Okay, so to me it's like breathing. Okay? If you treated your relationship with money the same way you treat your relationship with air, things could shift for you in an instant. Let me give you an example of this. If we all breathed in, when you breathe in for air, unless you're in like a coffin or something, right? Like normal, like here you're in your office, you're home, you're watching this. Is there any fear? Is there any anxiety? Is there any thought that says, oh boy, I hope there's enough air for me? Or am I taking air away from somebody else? Or what if this is my last breath right here? Well, like in this context, hopefully you're not saying any of that, right? And then when you let it out, is there any fear or worry as well? No. And what if we could start to translate that or superimpose that with our relationship with money? Because what I was doing early days is I treated my relationship with money as a like stagnant pool, like a dam of water. I was trying to collect and collect and collect and create my pile. And so I would do more to get and collect and get what's mine, and then I would hoard it and hold on to. And look, there in that, when you aren't willing to let go of money, it's demonstrating that money is hard to come by and there may not be any more. It's still a lack mindset. Even with people with a lot of money can still have a lack mindset because they're like, no, I can't let it go.
Absolutely.
And the more we can let it out, the more, and I'm not saying go let it out. I'm saying so listen to the words carefully, because I've had people say like, oh, well, what about someone who's like a shopaholic? Like, that's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying
it's circulation, isn't it? It's a circulation.
Absolutely. You have to be at peace with letting money out to really be in a place to demonstrate abundance. So if you made the decision to go to dinner and you made the decision to buy the things that you bought, okay, you're responsible for those choices. And then when the bill comes, you're like, oh God, no, don't take my card. You're really not demonstrating in that moment that you're coming from an abundance place, that the universe is abundance, that money is abundant, because you're afraid you're not going to make that money back. But we don't breathe out and go, oh gosh, I hope that wasn't my last breath. I hope there'll be more. And if we start to operate that way and just let go, then you can allow for more to come in so much easier. So that's an analogy that's really helped for me. I'll answer your question really quick. Has my story, like, is it finished? What it is if we lay the money story and relationship with money over business, growth happens in stages in your business. There's like a startup phase, there's like, okay, now we're going to like expand, we're going to scale, we're going to blah, 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 right? There's these different stages. And the way I look at it is there's a different relationship, and attitude and mindset around money needed at every stage. And I've had to relearn it at new stages. Okay, so the stage we're in now is a crazy stage because I have a big team. There's 12 or 13 of them. I don't even know the exact number. That's weird to me, right? And anybody who has a staff that big, that your biggest expense is payroll, right? So there's a lot of money that goes out even before like we do anything,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's just money gone. Like you're like, it's almost like you're looking at I don't do this, but like it's almost like you're deficit at day one of the month or the quarter, because these people are going to be paid, blah, blah, blah. And that, if you're not okay with that, like if you don't have your money relationship down there, like I've seen people say, oh, I need to build a team. And then they collapse and sabotage the whole thing because they can't sit with that. They can't be with that. So, you know, that's a big thing. But now we're in a place where we're investing. Like I'm a huge fan. Obviously, we do this in business, so I practice what we preach. Huge fan of investing in my education and my personal development and business development. So I've always invested in mentors, masterminds, coaching, and programs. And I frankly believe that's what's gotten me here. But now I'm in a place where I'm doing that for my team. So like I'm investing in programs and coaching for them. Amazing. So they're evolving as well. And that's still, you know, that comes out of my pocket, but I've trained my brain to say, wow, if I can give this 10 to 20, I mean, like we're talking $10,000 to $20,000 programs for our employees. And I sit there and say, if we invest that, what is that going to do to their performance? And what will their performance then do to the bottom line? What will it do to our next launch, our next promotion? And I'm thinking of the possibilities. And it really does go back to that is, are we looking at, what is this taking away from me? What is it costing me? You know, what is it taking away from this finite, small little pie that we've said that's all there is? Or are we saying, wait a second, what does this make available? What does this make possible? Tomorrow, the end of the quarter, the end of the year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And I promise you, if you just started to train your brain to look at that, first of all, you would sleep better at night. But second of all, you'd start to see those results so much more.
Yeah. And it's funny actually, because I have to thank you, James, because you introduced us to this book, Dollars Floating. It's right here. This book kind of moves. This book, it's kind of with me all the time at the moment.
Yeah.
So you told us about this book earlier in the year, and I was a bit kind of hooked on it in January when I first started reading it. And it was like a real light bulb moment in my head, because here am I tapping into abundance, clearing away the emotions around not having enough money, clearing away the anxiety and the stress and all those negative emotions that we associate with money. But then it's funny because this book actually says, you know, just feel abundant, do nothing. Okay. And it's just like, okay, that's great, but how do you do that? And I thought, yes, I can do that with tapping. I can do that with tapping. So I've just breathed a whole new lease of life to my program based on Richard Dots, which has just been incredible. So thank you for sharing that book with me, and I've shared it with my audience, and Richard Dots is probably selling many copies as a result of us sharing it.
Yeah, well, and here's where I want to answer Chocolate Johnny's question about how your work has helped me, because look, the thing is we're all human, and we're having a human experience, and it's beautiful. And part of that human experience is that we are emotional creatures. Okay, so like even me, my personality type and who I was growing up, I thought I didn't have emotions, like, but I do. We all do. Trust me, we all do. Okay, and the thing is that I look at, you'll feel a certain way when you have an experience or a thought or whatever of something unwanted, and you'll feel crappy about it, right? Like you look at the bank account or a bunch of money just came out. And the thing is that event already happened. It's in the past, right? So like, let's say you just got a bill or you just had to pay this amount of money, and it was a lot of money. Maybe you just paid your taxes or whatever. And like, even though that's in the past, it's gone, you'll find yourself days later, maybe minutes, maybe hours, maybe days, maybe weeks, maybe months, still having that residual emotion, like heaviness in you. And what I realized is like, that's like baggage, right? Like that's like you trying to climb Mount Everest and you've got like 10 backpacks on your back. And so what I experienced from tapping is it releases that emotion that's there. Otherwise we keep holding on to it, and then you get another bill, because you're going to get another bill, guys. Okay. And then you're going to get get taxes, and then you're going to get another bill, right? And then it's piling up and piling it up. And then all of a sudden we're like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm stuck. I'm frozen. Like, I'm not doing anything. It's like, yeah, well, climbing Mount Everest with a 100-pound backpack is going to be hard for anybody. And so tapping is something that allowed me to get present to the emotion, experience the emotion, and then release it. And once I released it, and you'll get to this place with Melanie, is like, you'll feel light as a feather. You'll feel free. And then you're like, when was I not free before? And you go, and I realized, I'm like, oh, it's my emotions. And you know, it is what it is, but it was my emotions that I was like caught up in, that there was no clarity there. There was no power there. And, you know, again, it's part of the human condition, but that's what I experienced, is that it allowed me to release that. And Melanie was actually a little fun fact. She was actually able to help me with a lot of fear I had around flying, which now I have no fear of flying, which is amazing. Yeah, the book is called Dollars Flow to Me Easily, guys. A fantastic book. Yeah. Really good. And Chocolate Johnny posted it as well.
Yeah, Dollars Flow to Me Easily. There we go. Great book. Yeah. No, I remember listening to your podcast, and he's saying, keeps going on about having a fear of flying. So then just reach out. Do you fancy a little tapping session? Let's see what we can do there. But yeah, no, that's great. And it's just, and I think, so yeah, so the program's Tapping into Abundance, but the thing is tapping, and a lot of us tappers in the EFT world would say, you can try it on anything, literally anything. So what I've been experimenting with tapping on different things. I've been doing tapping on getting into the vortex, which Esther Hicks talks about. I've been Richard Dotts talks about letting go of your need for money, which it kind of sounds a bit nuts, really. You need money. How can I let go of my need for it? So what if I did a round of tapping to let go of my need for money? It's amazing. I've been really experimenting with tapping and these different concepts, and you really can do it on anything. Oh, hi.
Well, look at the thing like a need for money. So any you know, women listening to this, have you ever had a really needy guy try and approach you and like try and ask you out, or ask to buy a drink, right? And the more needy that he felt, that probably the more you're like, all right, like, leave me alone, kind of thing, right? Now, every woman here has had that experience. And most guys have had the experience of coming off a little too needy. It's the same thing when you put out that neediness, just like Mel said, like a need for money. All you do is put out a needy vibe, and all that does is repel money. And then another thing that Richard Dotts, like, that really helped me was not just the neediness, but the worriness.
Yes,
like
worry.
Let's use the same analogy. If a guy approaches you as a female, and he's worried about how he looks, and he's worried if you'll say yes or no, he's worried about getting rejected, and he comes across as nervous and anxious and, oh God, like, are you like, oh my gosh, man of my dreams? Or are you like, no, thank you, right? It's the same thing. If that's going to repel attraction, why wouldn't it also repel money? And that was like a big takeaway for me, is that the more you worry, the more you're needy, the more you're in fear and anxiety around money, that's the actual thing that's pushing you away. Yeah. And so people go, well, that's great, but I can't help it. That's where tapping comes in. Yeah. Because tapping allows you to release the very thing that is pushing money away from you. And if you're just sitting there worrying all day, do you really think that that's going to make you money? Does anybody that makes a lot of money sit there and say, I'm so glad I worried all day. If I didn't worry, I don't know if I would have made it here. You know, or gosh, I could only imagine if I would have worried a little bit more, I probably could have 10x my revenue. No, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. But we're sitting there worrying, anxious, afraid, fearful, needy all day long.
And here's the other way that tapping helps, is because when you are worried and needy and fearful and anxious and overwhelmed, and you can't sleep at night because you're stressed, you are actually blocking all the money-making ideas and all the inspiration and all the opportunities from coming your way. The moment you let go of all of that, because we literally tap to let go, the feel good factor comes in. Just even if you can just get to a state of being calm and relaxed and to that place of peace that Richard Dotts talks about, this is when the magical things happen. That's been my experience, certainly, anyway.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
and it's fun.
it is.
Allow some miracles into your life. It makes life so much more fun.
Totally. And you get a stomach ulcer, Marion said. Yeah, you do. It, you know, that's the thing. When you worry, you get stomach pains, you lose sleep. And that lack of sleep is so detrimental to your health. Just a couple of rounds of tapping, have a good night's sleep, and then the money-making ideas will come in the morning.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. And the thing.
No, it must be more complicated than that, Melanie. Come on.
That's the thing. I think that's what I've been sharing in my Abundant April, in my 5-day challenge, that the best thing to do is just to relax and to let it go. And I think some people are a bit like disappointed that that's kind of not all I have to share, but talking about getting into a state of gratitude and appreciation of things, just do anything to make yourself feel good is then going to allow abundance to come into your life.
But it's because it's already there, and all we're doing is pushing it away. It's like someone's knocking on your door right now, and they have a gift, and they want to give you this gift, and you're just saying no, I'm not opening that door. Every time we worry, every time we focus on lack, every time we're on our, coming from this survival context, that's exactly what we're doing. We're refusing to open the door of what the universe wants to give you, which is exactly what you've really been wanting. And there's a great saying that says, like, imagine for a moment if what you wanted also wanted you. Like, how would you show up differently in this moment if everything you've written down, everything that you say you want, everything that's missing in your life also wanted you, and it was seeking you out and it was looking for you right now? How might you show up differently? Totally. Yeah.
And I was just about to say, so it's funny, so here we are talking about the magical, allowing things to happen, but I just want to say quickly that Jill Romig is also watching now. I'm actually going to be doing Facebook Live with Jill a little bit later. Jill's actually a bonus for my program because I wanted to bring in some kind of practical money elements as well, because I think, yes, it's all very well to tap for abundance and to sit back and relax and to get back in that place of peace, but I wanted this new version of this program to have a little kind of a sensible, practical, not that what we're not talking about isn't sensible, it's the most sensible thing, but to help us get a handle on our debt and budgeting and all those kind of like proper things we should be doing with money. So I really wanted to I'm so delighted that Jill said yes to joining me on this round of Tapping to Abundance. So we're going to be doing Facebook Live together a bit later on.
Well, so I love that, because I heard a phrase a long time ago. You've heard that, like, I'm sure you've heard that, right? Like, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. I really resonated with that. And then I heard another one that was similar to that. It says that we're spiritual beings living in a mechanical world. And I really resonate with that, in that, like, okay, so, on a more intangible, which is really where you take the conversation, Melanie, like, on an intangible level, we need to address our relationship and our beliefs around money. Where does money come from? How can I let more money in? And that takes on a more, spiritual conversation for most. But at the same time, we still live in a mechanical world where we have bills, we have taxes, payroll, like all that stuff. And it's like, when you can master both sides of those, that's extremely powerful.
And I know certainly with my personality type, I need extra help in this area. So I'm happy to get all the help I could get in the practical side of money management. Yes, money does flow to me easily, but I want a handle on how to kind of retain it a bit longer as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing, is that mastering your money mindset isn't just about like having more money come in. It's all of it. It's like, what does it feel like when it flows out? And what does it feel like to manage money, right? And to pay the bills and to save and to invest. It's all these facets. And quite frankly, like I said before, like we've for the most part, all of us grown up with as a default way, a very broken, outdated, disempowering relationship with all facets of money. And you can tell if any of it is giving you fear, worry, or anxiety.
Yeah, totally.
And if it is, chances are you'd like to live without that fear, worry, anxiety, or, crunchiness. But also, because that just doesn't feel good. But also, I firmly believe that it's that pushes more money away from us.
Yeah.
The more you need it and the more you want it, all you're attracting in your life is more need and more want.
So we let go of all of that, we relax, and we just allow it to flow, and we tap into abundance. That's a nice cheesy way to end, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, but that's what I love is like, it's like, how do you do that? It's like, well, when you tap, you can actually release those emotions that don't feel good.
And sometimes it is quite hard, but I've seen it with the people in my challenge, or I see it when I do live tapping on Facebook. I ask people, how are you feeling now? And the comments, oh, I feel great now. And every time I'm kind of waiting for somebody just to say, oh, well, actually, Mel, I just feel the same. But they don't. They say, I feel great. I feel amazing. I feel light. Oh, phew, it does work. So it's great to that's why I love doing it on Facebook Live, so people could tap along with me. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And if I'll just say one last thing, because like when I started hearing all this stuff years ago, I was super skeptical. However, I was also super broke. So I had nothing to lose. And at the end of the day, you don't have anything to lose either, because the very first thing that's going to happen is you just start feeling good more often. And, quite frankly, we could all use feeling a little bit more happy, a little bit more at peace, a little lighter more often throughout our day. So that's the worst that's going to happen, But why I love these conversations today is that when I started hearing these years ago, it was about 6 years ago. No, it was also about 10 years ago. I started hearing conversations like this, and I'd roll my eyes, and I was so skeptical and so doubtful. And I was looking for evidence of people that were using this and making a lot of money, using spiritual practices, universal principles. And I really had for a long time, I had a hard time finding anyone. And, so I get the skepticism, and I'm not, as a guest here, like I'm assuming most of your people, Melanie, are just like already on board. So I'm probably preaching to the choir. But if there are anybody skeptics, like hold on to your skepticism. It's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But to be able to just like put it aside, almost like a jacket you're wearing. Like, okay, I'm gonna take this jacket off for a moment, and I'm gonna go in the dressing room, and I'm gonna try on a new jacket. I'm just gonna see how it feels. I'm gonna see what it looks like. I'm gonna see if it offers anything different, and I can take it off at any time. And at the end of the day, that when I look like what I've been able to create and accomplish in my life, I mean, my wife and I run a multi-million-dollar business. We live in our dream town. Like the things that have come into our life, talking about abundance, that is not just about money, but from our friendships and relationships to, us find how we found our dream home to vacations and all of that stuff. Like, at least for now, let me be the evidence that this stuff works when you apply it. But you got to apply it. You've got to live it. You've got to operate from it. See, our whole lives, we went to school where someone gave you knowledge that you couldn't use. Like, how am I going to use that Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492? How do I apply that to my life? You don't know how, right? Unless you're on Jeopardy and Alex Trebek asks you a question. So most of the content, information, and stuff in our brain, we like never learned how to apply it. And so then you hear stuff like this, and you're like, I've heard this, I know this, blah blah blah, and your head fills up with all this stuff. It's like, Yeah, but are you living it?
Yeah, and I think you and Chelsea are amazing examples of that. So yeah, thank you for being incredible role models for us to watch you grow and inspire all of us.
Yeah, and look, I'm still on my journey. I've got a lot to learn and a lot more that I can tap and release and let go of. But I'm on that journey, and that's the point. And you're either on that journey or you're just like putting things in your head and going, "That's nice, but I'm going to keep doing things the way I've been doing." Yeah. And the moment you like step into that and walk that way, like, you know, and you just check, like you just look at the end of your day and say, let me just check in. Did I worry? Was I in fear? Were my thoughts just like all this noise in my head about everything, blah, 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 blah? Or was I at peace? Was I happy? Was I clear? Was I present? Did I have fun? You know, and you just get to check in and be honest with yourself, and there's no right, wrong, good or bad about it. But if you could choose one or the other, I would choose the latter every single time.
Perfect.
You know,
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, James. It's been wonderful to have you here as my guest. Yeah. So what are your plans for this Sunday? You're busy.
I'm going surfing right after this.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm going at least in the water. I don't think there's any waves today, but the sun is out. It's not as nice where I am, but it's still nice, and I'm going out.
Hotter in the UK.
I will be going to Europe in a few weeks, but sadly we won't be in the UK this time.
Never mind. No. Yeah. Good luck with all your pre-launch activities, James, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks
everyone
for watching.
Thanks everyone.